Hello students, my name is Shesi George, your professional accounting teacher. Before you continue with this video, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Georgian Theory Concepts. Thank you. So let's get started. All right, now in this video, we are looking at the concept of consumers and producers surplus. Consumers and producers surplus. Okay, let's draw our demand curve. Our demand curve. These are demand curve. Okay. Then if I draw my supply curve, the supply curve, say S. All right. Now the point at which demand equals to supply is called the equilibrium point. Okay. Then when you trace this line, you trace it. This is called the price. So this is the price, this is the price, and this is the quantity. All right. So this price is called the equilibrium price, while this is called the equilibrium quantity. Okay, equilibrium quantity. Now, if you look at this shaded portion, these are prices, various prices. The consumers are willing and able to pay, but on getting to the market, they discover that they can buy the products at a lower price. Don't forget, the higher the price, the lower the demand. The lower the demand, the lower. Are you with me? The lower the demand, the higher the price. So as the price is dropping, the demand increases, the quantity demanded increases. Okay. Now, if we have equilibrium price that has been set, that has been fixed, okay, on getting to the market, the consumers can buy, they are willing and they have the capacity to pay higher price, but the price has been fixed at a lower price than what they are offering or what they are able to pay. Okay, the price is lower. Supposing the price is 100 naira, but the consumers can afford to pay 120, they can afford to pay 110, 105, and so on. Okay, but they eventually paid for 100 naira. Okay, all these excesses, they are called surplus. They are gain. All right, when you can pay 20 naira and 120 for that goods, you can pay a price higher than the equilibrium price. So the difference is called the surplus. Okay, and this surplus can be calculated using the integration application, okay, of calculus. So we have consumer surplus. So you may be asked to calculate the consumer surplus, given the demand function. So it will be equals to the integration of the demand function, the demand function, okay, the integration of the demand function minus the equilibrium price multiplied by the equilibrium quantity. So this is the general formula. Okay, that's the general formula. Now, for producers surplus, of course, that's we talk of the supply. If you look at this portion, this triangle below the equilibrium, from the equilibrium price, okay, the supplier is willing to supply at a lower price, but on getting to the market, he found out that the equilibrium price is above what is willing to supply. Okay, it's above the price he is willing and able to supply. Let's say the supplier determines to supply for, let's say, a price lower than 100 naira, but on getting to the market, the price has been fixed by the forces of demand and supply. The price has been fixed to 100 naira, but is willing to supply this. So what the producer will do, he will supply at this point, since there are consumers that can pay for it. So this excess above what he is willing to supply the price is above it, all the producers, it's called producers surplus. Not one, but all producers surplus. And that can be calculated using integration too. So producer surplus is nothing but the equilibrium price multiplied by the equilibrium quantity minus the integration of the supply function okay? So using this formula, all right, that's the application. So those of you writing professional exams like the ATS exam of ICANN is very common in your quantitative analysis question, okay? In your quantitative analysis question. So let's take a question on this. Okay, look at this question. The question says that given that the demand function, so this one is the demand function, that's the demand function, is given to be 17,500 minus 10Q, and the supply function is also given at this. Okay, we have to find the consumer surplus, then you find the producer surplus. All right, so the first thing here is to find the equilibrium price. Okay, you find the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity. That's the first thing. So how do you do that? So we know that at equilibrium, at what? Equilibrium. At equilibrium. So our solution now, at equilibrium, our demand is equals to supply. Demand equals to supply. Okay, at equilibrium, demand equals to supply. So we have 17,500 minus 100Q, which is equals to Q squared plus 100Q plus 5,000. All right. Now let us make it a quadratic equation. So what do you have? We have is 0 equals to Q squared plus 100Q, okay, plus 5,000 plus 100Q minus 17,500. All right. Now we have 0 equals to Q squared minus 100Q, plus 100Q plus 100Q will give us plus 200Q. This is 5,000. 5,000 minus this will give us minus 12,500. All right, 12,500. So what do you have here? We have Q squared plus 200Q minus 12,500 equals to 0. So this gives a quadratic equation. So let us solve quadratically. So when you solve quadratically, what do you have? We have Q squared plus 250 minus 50Q plus 250Q minus 50Q minus 12,500 equals to 0. Then we have Q into brackets Q plus 250. Then we have minus 50 into bracket Q plus 250 equals to 0. So our Q plus 250 equals, then into brackets Q minus 50 equals to 0. Then what do you have? We have Q plus 250 equals to 0. Q minus 50 equals to 0. So from here we have Q equals to minus 250, or if 50 comes to this side, we have our 50. Okay? So since Q is either minus 250 or 50, okay, we pick 50. We assume our equilibrium quantity to be 50 because Q must be greater than, equilibrium quantity must be equal or greater than 0. Okay, must be equal or greater than 0. Take note from there. Now we can substitute in either equation. Let's substitute to calculate our equilibrium price. So from the demand function, or you can do the supply function, anyone, from the demand function, which is substitute for Q equals to 50. All right, so the demand function from that question is 17,500 minus Q. Okay, so what do you have? We have our equilibrium price will now be 17,500 minus 100 into bracket 50. Okay, 100 into bracket 50. So our PE will equals to 17,500. When you multiply, we have 5,000. Then our PE, that is equilibrium price, is 12,500. 12,000 and what? 500. Then we can now calculate our consumer surplus, which is the integration of the demand function minus equilibrium price times the equilibrium quantity. That's the formula. Okay, and we have the QE here. All right, that's the equilibrium quantity, and this is 0. So what do you have? We have CS, consumer surplus. What is the integration? So the equilibrium quantity is 50 and this is 0. Then you integrate this function. So we integrate this function, which is 17,500 minus 100 Q. Okay, so let us integrate this function. All right, the demand function. So the demand function, then minus 12,500 multiplied by 50. Okay, so our CS now becomes, you substitute for 50. That's 7. Now let us integrate this. Before you substitute, let's integrate. So if you integrate, we have 17,500 Q all over 1 minus 100 all over 2 Q raised to power 2. Then we have 50 and 0 minus, when you multiply this, what do you have? You have 625,000. All right, now let us substitute. We have CS equals to 17,500 into bracket 50 minus, this is 50 cut, that's 50 into bracket Q is what? 50. On a normal situation, we are supposed to do for 0. We are supposed to put 0 into this to substitute for Q. But when you have 0, it means every other thing there is what? Is 0. Okay, then minus 62,500. So as we have substitute for this 50, okay, the way we have done here, we're supposed to do for 0. But because this one is 0, every other function, once you have 0, every other thing here becomes 0. Okay, so let us multiply this one out. What do you have? So you have 750,000 minus this, and therefore our C, consumer surplus, will be 750 minus 62500. So what do you have? 125,000. Okay, so that is 125,000 naira. That's our consumers surplus. Now our producer surplus is nothing but P, price, equilibrium price multiplied by equilibrium quantity minus the integration of the function of the supply. Okay, don't forget, what's our function of the supply? Q. This is our function of Q squared minus 100 squared plus 5,000. So we have Q squared plus 100 squared plus 5,000. Okay, plus 5,000. So this has been calculated to be 6250. So we have 62500, okay, minus the integration. So when you integrate, what do you have? You have a Q. When you integrate this, you have Q all over 3, okay, plus 50 Q squared plus 5,000 Q, okay, 5,000 Q, 50 and 0. So we have 625,000 minus, open your bracket, 50 all over 3 plus 50 into bracket 50 raised to power 2 plus 5,000 50. Then I told you when you have for 0 is everything will give you 0. Okay, so let us multiply this out and see what we have. Then you have 625,000 minus 37,5016.67. So when you subtract this, so let us subtract. We have 625,000 minus that answer, and you have the consumer surplus is 24,983. Okay, 200 and sorry for this. That is 249,983.33. So that's our consumers. Our producers surplus. The producer surplus. Okay, so if you don't forget the formula I gave you, the formula is this and this, okay, for consumer surplus and for producer surplus. So you can go through the question again if you don't understand. Thanks for watching. Please do share with your friends. Bye for now.